Welcome back to another episode of Cheers PA Beer Talk. I'm your host, as always, Maalik Stark. And before we get into today's guest, I'd like to give a special thanks to the PLCB for making this show possible. And follow us on social media at Cheers_PA and look out for new episodes every other Thursday. And today's guest is Josh Kinard. How are you, man?
What's up? I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, man, you're a brewer at Something Wicked, obviously. Well, I always ask people how they got into brewing, but like why brewing specifically is what I'll ask this time.
So why brewing specifically? So probably a couple years after I graduated high school, I started making kombucha. So like that probiotic drink. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I drink it.
Yeah. So my one good buddy that that I skated with a lot, I hung out with at his house, and his parents are kind of like old school hippies, and they were, drinking GT's kombucha. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's a healthy drink or whatever. So I was, buying it pretty much like multiple times a week, like $3.50 at like Giant or whatever. So started adding up after a while. So I kind of was like, oh, well, let me see if I can make this. So that was pretty much my introduction in like yeast, bacteria, fermentation or whatever. And I think at that point I was like 20, just turning 21. And then a couple of my other friends started getting into craft beer and kind of showing me, some different beers and stuff. So that kind of took hold of my interest in craft beer. And I think by that time I was drinking a lot of craft beer, and I was working horticulture jobs. At that point, I had no further education after high school. And horticulture was just something that interested me. And the one nursery I was working for, the previous year, they sold hops there. So I was back in the greenhouse the one day, and I saw like 3 hop plants sitting there. And my boss basically told me they didn't sell them there anymore and I could take them home with me. So I ended up growing some hops in my backyard. And then the same friends' parents that introduced me to kombucha, they were like, oh, we know a guy who brews his own beer. He lives close to you. Maybe we can invite him over for dinner, and you guys can chat it up. So that happened, and he invited me over to his house. He grew his own hops too. So next thing you know, I went over to his house and we did a couple all grain batches together. And that was pretty much, it was like, boom, all grain right away. I never did any extract brewing. I was just thrown right into it. And he was, home brewing back. He's like 65 now or 63. So he was home brewing like back in like the early 90s pretty much. So yeah, he pretty much showed me that. After a couple batches, me and my friends decided to go down to Scotts and Brothers and buy a bunch of the all grain equipment they had there. So, and once that happened, pretty much just started going crazy at my house, homebrewing every weekend. Pretty much hazy IPA, like right off the bat. Or like pale ale IPA, because at that point I was drinking IPA a lot. That was pretty much my favorite to drink. So that was in 2017, the end of 2016 into 2017. Brewed all that year, and then I found the Harrisburg Hack brewing science program. So
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so. I never had any further education past high school. So I thought, craft beer seems pretty booming in Pennsylvania right now. Maybe this is my opportunity to make it worth something. So I did that year program from 2018 to 2019. And then at the end of our program, we had an internship we had to do. So I ended up doing my internship in Biglerville at a brewery called The Thirsty Farmer. Because that was pretty close to my house at the time, because I lived in Gardner, so it was like 20 minutes away. Okay. Did that internship, and towards the end of it, the brewer there told me that Something Wicked was looking for a head brewer because their current one was going to leave to make his own brewery, which is now Rough Edges in Waynesboro. He owns that one. So
No way.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
So Wes is his name. He was the head brewer here at the time. That was 2019, and then I was the assistant for about 3 months, and then he left. And then at that time, the brewery had 8 taps, I believe, and when I started, they were under all this renovation. So we actually doubled our space in here, got a kitchen, and then expanded like 8 more taps. So so after that, pretty much, holy crap, I got a brewing job, and it's all of me now. Wow, hobby turns into a career, and it was definitely a little scary. We are a 3-barrel brew house, so we're pretty small, so we can turn and burn stuff pretty quickly that way. But yeah, just figuring out how tri-clamps and gaskets work and pumps, and I was adjusting my water and my mineral content like when I homebrewed, so that wasn't anything new. Pretty much every step of the way, every part of the process, I understand it was just really all the bells and whistles that came to, what they have in here.
Yeah, that's sick. I didn't know that. No, for one, I didn't know that you went through the hack program. That's really, really cool. I know a lot of people that have done that, and yeah, like that's super awesome. I went to hack for a little while and didn't even think about brewing because I didn't think there was a whole thing about that. But that's cool. How was that? Like, do you think?
It was pretty cool. Like, there were some kids that complained about it, just how it was broken up, I guess, in certain sections. And, we pretty much started off with a culinary class, then a culinary math class. That way we got our serve safe. And then from there, it went to a small microbiology course. And then after that, it was marketing. And then we did a class beer at 0 Day. And Theo was actually one of the teachers there.
I was going to ask if Theo was one, because you said the year, and I knew he instructed some of them. So
that's how I met Theo. And then I met Hannah too, just by going to the old tap room because my buddy moved to Harrisburg. So he would be there a good bit. So he would take me in there, and I ended up talking to Hannah a few times. So I am familiar with Hannah and Theo just from those past experiences. But yeah.
That's awesome. And you go back to you making kombucha at first. Like, what made you want to do that? Like, because I've had it, I like it, but I would have never thought about like what it takes to make it or anything like that.
I think me and my buddy were real into it, and like I said, my other buddy's parents were drinking it, so I think just really the health factor behind it, and I thought it was really cool, and pretty much that's it. And I drank it all the time, and I really liked it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just research stuff on the internet, just like I did for brewing, to find out how to freaking brew beer. Just diving deep into it, and then making batches. I actually went to Scotts and Brothers too for all my flip top bottles. So before I even bought my brewing equipment, I went there to get a good couple of my kombucha supplies.
Nice.
But yeah, just doing that. And I did that for about 2 years or so. And then once brewing took over, that pretty much took over all my space and my time and dedication and all that stuff. So
nice.
Yeah. I want to get back into making kombucha again, just because I bought it at the store like a week or so ago, and I was like, holy crap, this is like $4.50. It's almost $5 for a bottle. Like, man. So, but yeah. So really just, it's funny, just health drinks really kind of sparked my interest in all that, and kind of warmed the tunnel from there.
As far as you had brought up the yeast and like being familiar with that, like how is that vastly different from using that in like beer, or how it like eats at sugars specifically? Like how, like You don't have to go completely into detail, but I don't know the first thing about that at all.
Okay, yeah. So basically, kombucha is it's fermented, if you will, with what they call the SCOBY, which basically is a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast.
Mhm.
So they work together to create trace amounts of alcohol, and then the primary probiotic that it produces is Acidobacter. So you and I know lactobacillus real well,
Yeah.
right? As far as our quick souring, kettle sour stuff, but Acidobacter is the primary probiotic in kombucha. So you pretty much just make a jar of tea, if you will, and then the SCOBY eats the sugar and creates bacteria and just trace amounts of alcohol.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. And then I would like bottle condition my kombucha with either pineapple juice or whatever I could get my hands on to make it like fizzy at the end, towards the end, but obviously flat before I put it into bottles and everything. But yeah, yep, that's kind of how kombucha is made. It's pretty easy. It's like set it and forget it sort of thing. Depending on the temperature, it can take 2 weeks to like a month, and you kind of just taste test it as the weeks go on, and you can tell if it's kind of getting more tart and that flavor, and you can tell the kombuchas or the SCOBY is really working its magic. So
yeah, after you what's saying that you skated and all of that, like in the meantime, did hearing that Something Wicked was looking for a head brewer, did that impact like how quickly you ran over? Just from like skating? Like just the name of it.
like Something Wicked. Oh,
Yeah, Something Wicked.
matter of fact, funny enough, I never even really thought about it like that. Yeah, that's hilarious. I did vibe with the name and like kind of the sort of the theme they were trying to portray here, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Something Wicked was open for. They opened in 2015, and they started off a little one barrel system, and it was just all the owners. So it's 6 owners that started Something Wicked. It was pretty much just a pipe dream for all of them. And one of the owners ended up buying the building that I'm sitting in here off an auction for really cheap. Not really like super intentional. I think he was at an auction, and they were like, "This is like a $100,000 building," and the bidding started, and nobody bid, and he was like $15,000, and nobody else bid. So he got the building, and that obviously doesn't include like tax and insurance and all that. Like, it definitely wasn't 15 grand, like after the fact. And there was a crap load of renovations to do for everything. So from when he bought the building in 2012, it took them like 3 years of renovations to finally make it like a brewery space.
Wow.
So yeah, so 2015 they started, and then I got hired in 2019. So
Nice.
I think I was their third brewer at that time.
Yeah, I go down to Hanover like a little regularly, and I still haven't been by there yet. Like I still plan on being down there, like maybe even tomorrow. But are you from, like you said that you grew up in Gardner?
I actually grew up in East Berlin. Well, East Berlin area. I grew up in a gated community called Lake Mead, actually, which is kind of like Lake Heritage in Gettysburg. I don't know if there's anything like that in Harrisburg, but it's basically like a man-made lake in the middle, and then community housing all the way around it. So people have like boats and stuff. So I grew up there in Lake Mead in that gated community until I was 18, and then I moved to Gardner's.
Okay.
So I was like familiar with the Hanover area. Obviously growing up and stuff in East Berlin, I think we tried to like street skate Hanover like a couple times as kids, and it's not really like a city. So like, the bust factor is high, so you get kicked out really easily, and they really lay down the hammer on the rural areas. It's not like Harrisburg, dude. You can kind of just skate around as long as you're not like on what is it, like Capitol grounds. You're pretty much good.
Oh yeah.
You'll get a soft kick out wherever you're at, but usually everything's pretty mellow. So
Sweet.
that's the one cool thing about going up to Harrisburg is we like to skate Steelton, obviously, and then we street skate a good bit there too. So
yeah, like I didn't know anything about Hanover until I started doing like stand up, and then got into like brewing and knowing that like there are breweries down there. So that's really, really cool. Whenever you started at Something Wicked, you said that they already had a 3-barrel system whenever you got there, or
yep. Yeah, they did.
They did.
Yep.
Do you think that like starting on a 3-barrel system and like obviously potentially like working your way up to like, I don't even know how many barrels of a system there can be, probably like 50 or whatever. Like, was that like less stress from whenever you were taking that hack course?
For sure. I didn't know where I was going to go. So actually, whenever I was finished my course, and whenever I was finishing my internship at the Thirsty Farmer, I think they run off of like an 8 or 9 barrel brew house. So that was, pretty big in my eyes, just going in there and being like, oh, wow, it's a, big batch of beer. So even when I came here, it was a little less intimidating, but still surely intimidating from 5 gallons to 100 gallons. I did apply to Trogs too as an assistant brewer.
Okay.
And then here as well. But Bill, my boss, called me first. So I was like, word. Cool. And I knew I'd be able to have a little bit more of a creative expression here than, at being a shift brewer at Trogs. I know they treat their employees good, but as far as just, what the daily operations are, it's probably just like making more, and then your next shift or whatever, you're kind of just pushing buttons. It's not really manual. We don't have a mash rake in our mash tun. We're manually pulling everything out, and there's not really a lot of button pressing other than turning on the open flame kettle. So that's about as manual or about as automated as it gets for us. So, which I enjoy. I enjoy the labor behind it.
Yeah, I didn't. Whenever I started brewing, I think, well, I know so. Like it's a 10-barrel system, and that's pretty intimidating for the first time. 100%, because just like you, like I'd started homebrewing with buddies on like a 5-gallon system, so it's completely different. Like we can mess up something and be like, oh, you got to dump this water, and it's only 5 gallons, but
for sure. And like you just drink it with you and your friends, and that's definitely another big aspect to it. It's like, okay, I'm not just brewing for myself anymore. Now I'm hitting this constant moving target of a market that you kind of have to find your niche, what you're good at, and kind of optimize on that. I feel like, at least. So and when I first started here, we didn't have any glycol, so everything was at the mercy of the ambient temperature in the room, which varies from 68 to 72. So everything that I was producing was ales for the first 2 years, which was fine with me because I didn't have any experience making lager anyway at my house, So about maybe 3 years ago, my boss did end up buying me a glycol unit for my 1-barrel fermenters that I have back here. So we ended up installing those, and then boom, now I can finally make lager. Okay, where do I start with that? Because I had no experience, and it's like, well, I'm like, we're serving this to people, like it's got to be solid, So that was a whole other realm of just doing research and figuring out what we want to do to make it happen and all that good stuff. So definitely, took me a couple batches to where I was like, okay, I understand like what exactly I have to do. Then I got really into it, just because as time goes on, I personally enjoy more lager now than IPA.
Yeah.
So, just having some local breweries being inspired by like Human Robot or
Oh yeah, Human Robot for sure.
like they kill it. I'm drinking one of their cans right now, actually.
Are you really?
Yeah, my buddy works for Plowman Cidery, and he delivers beer there like every other week. So I was like, dude, can you give me a case of Human Robot? He's like, oh yeah, for sure. And I'm like, sick. I got a Human Robot plug. That's awesome. So,
oh yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So either way, they were a big inspiration to me as far as kind of diving deep a little bit more on lagers. And like I said, we still have our 1-barrel pilot system back there. So with doing some research, kind of realized that our brew house isn't really set up for it, but we make it work. So we started running decoction mashes on all our Czech style lagers. And then after that, I ended up having to convince my bosses why we should spend, $300 on a Lucre side pool faucet. Thing. So,
oh yeah, we have one in our tap room now also.
Nice. Yeah.
I think we definitely weren't the first ones in the area to have it. I can't remember where we went to and someone had like a side pool and we were like, oh, we have to get one of those. And I think Theo ordered it at the bar. He was just like, yeah, we're getting one of those now. Yeah. As far as like brewing different styles, because you said that like you didn't really have the experience in like lagers. Do you find that to be like the most difficult to brew, or is there one that you're like not weary about making, but like you want to make sure you know everything before you try it?
It's definitely like, I feel like each style has its own realm of like difficulties in figuring it out.
For sure.
Even like hazy IPA. The way I brew my hazy IPA now is totally different than like 3 or 4 years ago than I used to do them, So I feel like that was a big learning curve. And then lager too. I feel like they're the same difficulty in a way, just, different times and temperatures and all that crazy stuff. So I wouldn't say anything's like super, what scares me the most, which I was never really good at, to be honest, because I didn't brew it that much, was like Imperial Stout, like dark beer, because I didn't brew it that much. That wasn't my forte. So that was the most probably intimidating thing for me, to be able to kind of, formulate a design of all those different specialty malts, in conjunction to come up with that nice, like mellow roast, full chocolate flavor profile with, viscosity and everything like that. So that was probably my biggest like fear of getting really good at, is Imperial Stouts. So.
Oh yeah. I was talking to Macy about that, and she said that you all have great stouts. So
yeah, I've definitely gotten better at that. So, like right now, we're just getting ready for our Dark Side Saturday, which is an annual event we have. We basically do a dark beer takeover. So we fill all our 16 taps with dark beers, anywhere from like Belgians to dark Czech lager. That's actually what I'm drinking right now. I'm comparing the Human Robot beer to mine. Okay. That's probably the best control I can get, is having that as a great example compared to mine. But dark Czech lager. We also run stuff off a beer engine. So I have casks in here that I can cask condition stuff. So I have a dark mild ale for that will run off the hand pump.
Oh, okay.
And also like pastry stout. Like I have a 14% pastry stout in the fermenter back there that I'll probably move the beginning of next week and do like 1 or 2 variants with as well and play with that. But yeah, so that's like, I got a bunch of dark beer back there right now, funny enough. So
sweet, man. Well, I'll definitely, I'm a huge dark beer fan. So yeah, I'll definitely make my way out there. If I
Yeah,
don't see you before then, for sure.
yeah.
Um,
And like I said, I can always come up your way too, and drop you guys off some crowlers or whatever. I'm always happy to do that. I do that for my friends all the time and stuff. So
Sweet, man. Well, I don't think I can crowl or anything, but I have about 15 growlers, so you don't even have to return it. I'll bring you some. I finally brewed a porter last week, and let me tell you, I was very, very, very. I don't want to say scared, but like worried about it because like I like them, and it smelled good when I was making it and all of that, and like the numbers hit where they needed to be. But I was like, if other people don't like this, like I'm gonna feel like just crazy. I'm gonna feel really, really bad about it. So like I get that.
for sure. And sometimes you got to go on Untapped with a certain type of mood to like, people
Yeah.
can be keyboard warriors, and you have to take. And at the end of the day, beer is so subjective to one another that
Mhm.
you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt and take it for what it is. So I really have to be in a certain mood. A lot of times I don't even look on Untapped anymore. I do sometimes, sometimes I don't. So.
Yeah, I'm still within my first year of brewing like solo. So
Okay, I was going to ask you how long you've been brewing for 0 Day for.
yeah, not too long. I'm probably almost at almost at 7 months now. Um
Okay, sweet.
yeah, and it's awesome. Just say less. But yeah, I looked at Untap for the first time yesterday with the idea or the thought process behind like, oh, I'm making this beer now. Like, I wonder if people like it. And yeah, there were a couple, things about it where I was like, all right, no, that can't be true. But I mean, whatever. Like, I don't really care about the ratings. Like, I've heard people in person be like, oh, this beer's good. And I didn't go, well, I made that. So why would
Yeah,
I? Yeah, no, like I'm not gonna be a diva per se about that. So yeah,
yeah. So have you over the 7 month period, have you started like forming? I'm sure you started off just doing their flagships just to kind of get rolling. I don't know. Like, have you formulated your own designs and made like a totally new beer from scratch yet? Uh,
uh, not well. I guess technically the porter that's going to come out, probably within the next month or so. It's a little bit like that. I mean, you can't. There are parameters to like that style, so like you can't really go off anything per se. But yeah, as far as like my own like designs, I feel like I'm coming close to it. Like I care about like the beer. Like it doesn't have to be like completely individualized to like what I think about it. Like if this is what people are expecting with this style, like I'm fine with that. Like blah 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 malt goes into it, or yeah, that's cool with me. Like it doesn't have to be Maalik's own special recipe. Like I'm not gonna come up with anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Oh, for sure. And you guys have your staple beers that you turn and burn a lot as well.
mhm.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I know, like, just off the top of my head, I know Casual Ruckus is a
Yeah.
newer, New England IPA. You guys probably been brewing that for a year or two now or something. Gosh, I'm trying to think what else. It's been a while. I usually go in the markets, or I would go to the
Yeah.
market time on Saturday. Me and Sam would go in there, get some food, and start our day with like a beer and some Jamaican cuisine or something. And
Yeah.
then we'll go to the skate park. So we went to the 0 Day Outpost location a lot.
Sweet. Yeah, it's still up. So, and I'm usually there. Yeah, I'm usually there on Saturdays before I go lollygag in a brewery. So,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
let me know next time you're
Yeah,
out this
yeah,
way.
yeah. I got you on the Instagram now, so I'll definitely hit you up whenever we do that. So definitely be able to be awesome to hang out, and chill, and have a beer with you, man.
Oh yeah, man. We definitely will soon. But yeah, I don't want to hold up any more of your time. I really appreciate you doing the podcast, and thanks everyone for listening and watching. Look out for new episodes every other Thursday. And cheers, man. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers, Maalik.